Hi, you guys. In this episode, we are diving into the science behind mindset. And it's a very special episode. As you know, I'm not a mindset coach. And frankly, I think there's a lot of mindset coaches out there that just have you chant things and do things over and over again. And now I am a believer that envisioning things and setting your projection on things works. I actually know that there's science behind it. And I don't think that science is talked about enough. Science is uncovered enough. And I kind of geek out on science. And so I'm super excited to bring Danya Douglas Hunt onto the show today. So if you're a high achieving entrepreneur, you value mindset coaching, or you want to tap into mindset coaching to reach 8 figures or 7 figures, this episode is for you. This is not for beginner coaches. This is for those of you guys that you're good at what you do and it's time to push you through to the next level. You value mindset, but you really want to know that there is science behind it. And when you know the power of neuroscience and money mindset strategies, like we're going to uncover in this episode today, then you're going to understand why it's important for you to tap into that and really bring it into your business and into your life overall. So this is a jam-packed episode with Danya Douglas Hunt. Now, Danya was a former Olympic athlete trainer turned mindset coach for 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs. Because when we look at peak performance athletics and entrepreneurships, we have tons of similarities and we have some of the same blocks as well. Danya is actually part of our expert dream team that comes in and works with our clients every single month. We're so glad to have her. And I'm going to admit, when my clients were begging for her to come in, and she's a friend, and so we brought her in as part of the team. And at first I was like, I don't need this. You guys have better believe that I am the one up front and center every single time Danya's in there. She kicks off every single month for our clients in our Wave Makers program and our Amplify and our Scale programs. And she's just a rock star. So in this show, we're going to unpack, like I said, the neuroscience behind mindset, and she's going to take you through very practical strategies so you know where you might be blocked and what you actually want to do in order to hit that next level by using neuroscience and money mindset strategies. And so if you're ready for that, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, you guys, I'm so glad you're here with my friend Danya, and we've talked about her. I've been warming up to this episode, and if you don't know Danya, you're definitely going to want to be connected with her after this show. You know, when we talk about mindset, that isn't something, Danya, like you and I laugh all the time. That we're like, April is not a mindset coach, right? So where do my people get fed? Where do our clients get fed? Where do our clients keep getting that fire within to go to the next level? And our secret weapon is Danya Douglas Hunt. I'll be real honest. So I'm really excited to have her here on the show. Welcome to the Sweet Life Podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we always have such fun conversations because you're an expert in what you do with business strategy, and I unpack all the personal strategy that helps them implement your strategy and take action. So it's a great combo. It's fun to have conversations, and I'm pumped to be here. Let's create some shifts and help people play bigger.
Right. So, and the truth of the matter is, I remember when I first brought you in, I'm like, oh my gosh, my people need this so badly. And you guys, if you see the video recordings of when Danya's in there every single month, who is the one that's like front and center on the edge of her seat, listening to all the stuff, implementing the shit, all of it? Yes, yeah. It's yours truly. I'm like, oh man, this is so good. I needed this so badly. So, you know, the reality is, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need this. I'm just gonna help our clients. I'm just gonna get this for our clients. I do not miss one of those. So
yeah, I love
learned
that.
so much from you. I've learned so much from you also. So today we're going to talk about money mindset, right? And there are so many big shifts on a relationship with money and all these other things. But you know, like what our clients are doing, some of our clients are sitting at the table selling what has been a $99 course now for $500,000. And it requires a different understanding, a different belief to do that.
Yeah, totally.
And that's where you come in.
Yeah. And so I just want to echo back to what you just said about even being on the calls. Like, I think a big misconception is people think first mindset works just like, oh, think positive. No. It is about getting your subconscious mind and your nervous system on board to your desires. And real quick here, your brain hates change. It can't predict it, even though consciously you're like, I want the $1 million a month. I want this. If you have not got your subconscious mind or nervous system on board to that, your brain's going to perceive whatever your desires are to be a threat. And so then what happens is, as you're working towards your goals, have fun, burning out, feeling stressed out, not being fulfilled on this hamster wheel, because your mind is not actually helping assist you to get there. It's trying to protect you from that thing it thinks is a lion. So as people are scaling their businesses, some of the most vital work that you can do is mindset work, nervous system regulation, because of how the brain operates. And so it's like, oh, I have lots of money. I know most people who actually need the money mindset work are people who have lots of money. Just going to say it. Because what tends to happen when we get money? So first there's like, oh, when I'm going to get the money, I'll be happy. That's a false misconception. But then you get the money, what happens? How many of us experience where it's like, okay, now I sold a 100K offer, or I'm making $500,000 a month. Your nervous system is freaking out because now we're worried about what people are going to think, or if I'm going to lose it, or if the other shoe is going to drop, or we're looking at how we're operating. And it's like, I want to scale the next level, but I can't possibly work harder or put more time in. And so then a lot of us almost build these traps for ourselves just based on our perceptions and beliefs around money, what we think we have to do, or what's possible or required of us. And we maybe have the accolades, but we're not feeling fulfilled, or we're not present with our families, or taking time off. And so it's this beautiful amalgamation of, as you grow and scale yourself, you're going to grow and scale your business naturally. And most people focus just on the strategy, which is absolutely vital. You need that. Like law of action, we live in a 3D world where we need to have strategy and take action. However, the intention, the energy behind those actions is what's going to dictate your results. And most of us aren't aware of what's actually creating those results or creating our experiences of money. So I look at entrepreneurs I work with just like the Olympians I used to work with. Olympians are really good athletes. They're good athletes, right? And they're looking to increase and optimize themselves to the next 1%, the next 0.5%. In my mind, the entrepreneurs I work with are just like Olympians. They're the Olympians of business space. You're constantly looking to optimize, refine, do things better, easier, and it's just this constant evolution. However, if our mind and our body aren't on board, it's a lot harder, a lot more stressful, a lot more unfulfilled. You're going to have, as things hit the fan, like maybe your launch fails or a client sues you, or there's a Facebook ads account that gets hacked down. If you don't have the mind and body regulated to that level of what you're calling in or where you're going, it's going to be a really stressful, unenjoyable journey. So that's where I come in. And I just wanted to echo that because people are like, oh, just mindset. No, it's not that. It's so much more than that. And it's going to help assist you to your goals way easier and faster.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that. And one of the things you said was about, being nervous about making more money. And I remember that, like around a decade ago, I used to think that, I used to have these preconceived beliefs that, everybody with money is a total asshole. And I didn't want to be that person. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I don't even want to make that much money because I don't want that responsibility. That seems like so heavy to me, like the more money I make. And I remember this feeling of just being weighted down. And it was probably a good 5 years of intentional work that I had to actually push through that and change all of that you were saying. I probably wouldn't have taken me 5 years had I known you back then.
That's okay.
But no, all of those things are so true. And I think one of the coolest things that I have learned in the process of having you come into our client ecosystem is all the science behind this, is understanding, who we were in the past and how that affects us today, and how, oh my gosh, you see this and your mind, your body thinks lion, and all of these, honestly, back to the basics of why, instead of just, oh, we're just going to manifest something, you know what I mean?
There's that.
There's like serious science behind this, and I'm a science geek for the millions of college classes that I did take and 0 degree to show for it. Every single class I took was a science class because I'm a science dork, right? And so I think also when we're talking about mindset, that really helps me in your expertise because you bring in all of the science behind it. Because it's factual, it makes sense. It isn't just putting fairy dust in the air and hoping and believing and jumping off a cliff. Right. Totally. So I just have to say that. So what are the problems though? So we're talking about looking at and moving forward, getting to the next level. Our listeners, our clients are getting to the next level.
Yeah.
And there are issues getting there that isn't just strategy. What's the deal? What's the problem?
Yeah. So first, I will keep this short and tight. First, we need to recognize and understand that our subconscious mind is something that's responsible for 99% of everything we do. So let's put this into context though, because I need anchoring down of like, what the heck does this even mean? Right now, my heart's beating. I'm not worried about my heart beating. It's doing it on its own. Right now, I'm talking to you and words are coming out my mouth, and somehow my tongue is moving and air is coming out and sounds, and you're able to perceive that and listen and interpret that, right? That's subconscious mind. Me driving is now automatic. I just drive. I don't have to think about that. So your subconscious mind is a supercomputer that runs everything we do or in our lives. And it's necessary because if we had to sit here and think about how to move my finger or my lips, like we would just be overstimulated with data. The thing is though, most of us don't recognize that our subconscious mind that runs everything is programmed from a young age, and it continues to be programmed based on what was around us, what was modeled, what we heard, what we listened to. And so many entrepreneurs right now, whatever age you are running your businesses with like your 5 or 8 year old mind. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want my 5 year old running my business. Like, it's not helpful. And so a big part of what happens as we're developing from 0 to 7 is we don't have that critical factor to reject information. So when it comes to money, just even to have awareness, because until you make the unconscious conscious, we can't change it. So a big part of where we start with entrepreneurs is let's just bring awareness to where is my money stories? What are my money beliefs? Well, guess what? So much of that is shaped around you. And you can look at like my sister's 4 year old is already making connections with money of like, I want money for this. And this is, and it's like your brain is constantly making interpretations and taking experiences and taking almost like pictures of snapshots that is being stored as like a picture in the brain. And so if we ever had an experience that causes emotional turmoil as a young age, whether we remember it or not, your brain is constantly scanning the environment and filtering it through like the 4 billions of bits of data, filtering it through your own identity, your beliefs, your values, and your senses and past experiences to present you with the whatever 5 or 7 bits of information. So most of us are in our businesses as 5 year olds or 8 year olds. And so let's get some awareness here. Think about when you grew up. What did you potentially witness or experience about money? For some, it's like you witnessed parents fighting. Maybe divorce was caused because your brain's made a connection of money. It's not actually that, but maybe your brain thinks that, made an interpretation of that. Maybe you heard things like, we don't have the money, we can't afford that, you have to work hard for money. Maybe you watch things on TV, your coaches, or you experience like, so beliefs and identity get shaped from a young age. And we can just look back and say, what was kind of happening in and around my early childhood around money? Conversations, experiences, events, listening to things, and recognize until we uncover that and reprogram that, that's going to be continuing to run the show. So that's where I want to start with people, is recognizing what's actually causing us to create those results. Now, we talked about even before in the show, what does create results? So if we put results on the far right-hand side, that's like the end of, if you're looking at me right now, I'm wearing, okay, this gold chain. That's the result. There's a cause behind this result. So there's law of cause and effect, okay? So the effect or the result always has a cause behind it. I maybe saw this on my dresser and I was like, I want to wear a gold chain. So it was an amalgamation of me looking at it, maybe seeing how I wanted to feel, that caused me to put on this gold chain. And now the effect is I'm sitting here in front of you, April, with this gold chain on. Make sense?
Yeah.
Now, look at our bank account. That's the effect. Look at everything you have in your external reality. That's the effect. That's the result. What actually creates those results, though, is first, action and strategy and behaviors precede results. Okay, so strategy, business, Facebook funnels, email marketing, whatever. So that comes before the result, the effect. Well, what comes before strategy, business, action, behaviors is our state, our vibration, our frequency, how we're feeling. Okay, because people are like, oh, I don't care about my feelings. Your emotions are causing you to do or not do something. That's the role of them. It's take action, not take action. For example, the sensation of hunger makes you go get food. The sensation of being tired makes you take a nap. The sensation of anything is causing you to do an action. So if we are in a muddled state, like maybe we're like disempowered, we're worried about people, fear of judgment, we're about to do something new and we're in fear, scarcity, whatever, that state, we tend to take very different actions, which get us very different results. Versus if we're in a really empowered state, I'm badass, I'm confident, I got this, I tend to take very different actions or behaviors and they get different results. So your state can dictate the ripple effect of results. But what comes before your state? It's going to be the thoughts. Now, how many of us have thoughts on repeat like, oh, I'm not good enough, or like, I can't do this. Is this even possible? Is this even worth it? Just on loop. Well, where did those thoughts come from, right? Like thoughts and state mirror ourselves very closely. We can think a thought, I have to do this, and it causes pressure in our body. Or I get to do this, and it causes expansion in our body. Okay, so words, thoughts, science proves this, have frequency. They're energetic and they have frequency. What I'm thinking and what I'm verbalizing is going to shift and cause my state to shift and change, which guess what? Actions and results. But then what comes before our thoughts, our subconscious, our mind, our identity, our beliefs, our values that was programmed in, and we can look at even the site epigenetics where it's passed down generationally. All of that right there comes before our results. So most entrepreneurs are just focused on the action, working hard, doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, when entrepreneurs typically come to me, it's because they've hit a result or a plateau. And they're like, oh, no matter what I do, how hard I work, I'm still getting the same thing. Or they're at this point where there's like, I can't possibly work any harder, but I want to scale my business. Right. And so now we look at, okay, most of us are only focused on the last two elements as behavior, actions, and results. And we really need to start unpacking under the hood of like your state, your thoughts, and your subconscious mind, and getting that on board. Because once we have this on board, the results are a natural byproduct, right? If I've got a belief of money comes to me freely and abundantly, or like it comes to me easily, and I'm not in scarcity and fear, I'm going to get very different results. And not only that, your subconscious mind's job is first and foremost survival, to protect you. So if it goes against anything you believe to be true deep down inside, your brain's not even going to show you it. It's going to try and help protect you from that lion, even though it's not a lion anymore. The second thing is your brain's job is always trying to find evidence to prove you right. So if we have a belief that rich people are a-holes, guess what you're going to see? Rich people are a-holes. Mm-hmm. If you have a belief that rich people are kind and generous, you're going to see rich people are kind and generous. Your brain's job is to literally prove you right and protect you. And so as we're looking at this kind of conversation, start to understand like, what are my beliefs about money? What did I hear growing up? What are potentially the programs running on autopilot in the background that I didn't choose, I learned, that are creating the result I have right here, right now? And if you're not sure, look at your results. Look at your bank account. Look at how you feel about money. Look at are you able to be present when you have downtime? Or is there like a fear of like, oh, but it's going to drop and I can't take time? Like I talked to one entrepreneur and the thought of taking 5 minutes to herself caused her a massive anxiety and panic attack. We know it's not going to kill her, but there's some perception, some belief that's driving that behavior, which gets the results of now burning out, So hopefully that kind of unpacks of like, it's not just, both of them have to work together because you can't just kumbaya and just do subconscious programming. You have to take action. You can't just sit here and be like, rainbows and butterflies. No, but so many of us, the question I want everyone to start asking yourselves is, what's the intention behind this decision or action? Is it rooted in fear, scarcity, worry, proving myself, validation, whatever? Or is it rooted in alignment, expansion, abundance, etc.? Because whatever energy it's in is going to come in the result as well. It doesn't change. It doesn't like, you don't get all the money. And here's where I'll make a caveat to that. How many of us have gotten the money and they're like, oh, that's going to have to make me feel safe and secure. And in fact, it either makes it the opposite, like, oh no, I'm going to lose it. Or now it lasted for a second and you're like, okay, well, how do I repeat this? How do I do this? And it's like this next thing. There's a lot of sneaky ways how money, beliefs, and identity can show up. And it first starts at the awareness of checking into your beliefs and asking yourself questions and or look at your results. And based on your results, you can kind of backtrack of what's the belief or the identity that created this result. And if you want things to be, here's the thing too, is like money doesn't have to be hard or stressful or like laborious at all. It can be easy and fun and enjoyment, not with our current level of programs and beliefs though. So that's how we're gonna unpack that. Did that long answer to your quick question of like just some stuff there about some neuroscience, but also some understanding of where we can lead? It's not just like free mindset. It's this what actually creates the results.
Right. And, a couple of things that you said that was really interesting. It actually reminded me of entrepreneurs when they're just first starting to hit those consistent 10K months. Yeah. And you said something, do you believe it's going to happen, or are you so stressed out that you're trying to prove to yourself? And I think that the majority of entrepreneurs, why hitting those consistent 10K months and then you get to 20 and then you get to 30. And I think one of the things that's so hard about that is that they are like I have to do this. Am I going to do it? It's such a it's not a deep rooted belief that of course this is going to happen. It's I need to prove it to myself and I need to prove it to everybody else, and I have this big thing I have to prove. I just spent an hour on the phone with a guy yesterday who's like, I have to completely monetize my podcast so I can quit my 9 to 5 in 30 days. And you know what I mean? I mean, half of me was like, please don't like bet mortgage on this. I was really honest. I'm like, okay, dude, let's kind of like come back down to earth. You know what I mean? But in the same sense too, he had no doubt that he was going to do that.
Yeah.
And he just needed the strategy behind it to do it, right?
Yeah.
That's actually very rare. Most people I talk to that are still, that are just trying to, they're like, oh my gosh, well, I have to do this because what if I can't quit my job here? Then they're deep rooted in fear.
Totally.
In fear of failure and in that they have to prove to themselves. So I see that all the time. I actually don't very often see the guy I talked to yesterday. He's like, I'm going to do this. I usually see 9 out of 10 people are like, please, like, you know, Hail Mary, can I please figure out how to do this?
Can we talk about what you just said too, about what actually happens to our brain when anger and pressure take over?
Yeah.
Because like, I can't tell you how many, like, especially like my A-type personality is like, look, this is my edge. I need this edge and pressure. Now, I understand. Look, I work with Olympic athletes and I work with very driven entrepreneurs. I get it. What's the intention behind that pressure and anger though? Because if it's rooted in like, actually this helps me focus and get in flow state, that's different. But if it's coming from like anger or fear or stress or anything that's causing us to go into any sort of, and we know I'm not gonna lie to ourselves, like it causes us to go in any sort of disempowered state or proving state or like scarcity state. I really want everyone to hear this. When you go into anger and fear, you are literally becoming dumber. I'm just going to say it. So those two emotions or those two sensations within the body, from a neuroscience perspective, is literally shutting down the access to the parts of your brain that would help you get out of the situation or perform better and see the creativity and solutions and intuition, etc., to prepare your legs to get strong or your jaw to get stronger to run. So going back to the physiology, we have the same nervous system and subconscious mind as animals. It works incredibly well for animals. What differentiates us is our conscious mind. So whenever we signal, and let's just talk about what even this is. Anger and fear are an emotionally physiological response to a perceived threat. Perceived threat. Most of us are perceiving threats of what people are going to think of us. Oh no, the traffic, someone just cut me off. Or if I have this money, what if I now lose it? And we're constantly signaling this low level fight or flight response in our body. Now, for animals, it works fantastic because it turns on and it turns off right away. Humans can perpetuate the fight or flight state, which is causing anger and fear in our body, which literally, again, signals fight or flight, which my legs will become strong, my jaw will become stronger, and my parasympathetic system. So if we've got fight or flight, which is sympathetic, let's kick on, run away from lion, or parasympathetic, which is all about healing, digestion, restoration, accessing, seeing possibilities, solutions, etc., creativity. If fight or flight's kicked on, which for most entrepreneurs, it's kicked on all the time, low level. There's like 1,000 tabs in the background. They're just constantly causing this like fight or flight state. Great. Well, I know that most entrepreneurs are working well, but just like Olympic athletes, there's like, we're looking for the next 1%. Imagine what it would be like if we could close down the thousands of tabs that are causing like the perceived threat of like something that happened to you when you're 3 years old. Now the thought of this email coming through. Oh my gosh, someone left a mean comment. Oh my gosh, my bank account dipped a second. Okay, my revenue dipped to 20%. All of that is signaling fight or flight in the brain, which is causing your legs to become strong and your jaw to become strong to run away from a threat that's perceived. And you're taking out your resources that actually can help you optimize and be more efficient as a leader, as a CEO, as a visionary. So for those of us who are like, but I need that edge and anger, I just want you to imagine every time you have that feeling or sensation or thought, your brain's thinking there's a line in front of you. And so your legs can become strong and your jaw becomes strong, but it's not useful for humans. It's not designed for a sophisticated world. So can we get to a state where we can release that so we don't have looping thoughts on repeat and we don't have that physiological sensation happening? Yes. And that's where we go and uncover some stuff of like, what's causing the signal to my brain to say, there's a line, run. Otherwise, we're just not accessing so many resources that are going to help us even operate better, more efficiently, getting out of situation to possibilities that will help us be more efficient and better entrepreneurs.
Well,
That
and
makes sense.
yeah, that's a perfect
Okay.
segue into giving our listeners like some steps to implement, because every single one of our listeners has been in that state. You know, as much as we would
Yeah.
all love to admit it, we haven't been scared or we haven't been stressed out. That's a lie. And
Yeah.
how do we respond to that? And that you're like, this is what Danya coaches me on, you guys, like about like I always like need that edge just because that's my background, the adventure edge. I love putting myself in dangerous outdoor situations.
I know. I feel like when we hang out, it's going to be bad because we're both like, let's go. Let's just jump off this thing. Let's just
Let's
do
jump off
this.
this cliff, right? Yeah, this looks like an adventure,
Yeah.
and I do, and I need that. I
Hmm.
need that.
And I'd
And I
ask you
remember,
though, like,
right?
so some people, when they have that, it gets them in flow state. That's
It
different
does, yeah, and
versus
that's
like
totally
focus, like fear, like anger, ooh, state, right? So if it's causing
no,
a
yeah,
physiological response in my body where I'm feeling stressed or there's lots of energy and whatever, just recognize your brain is seeing whatever's in front of you as a line, and now you're literally becoming dumber. Or is it priming me to be in a flow state where I feel expansive and I feel like, let's go? It's different, and only you're going to know the intention energy behind it. But most people are like, go to the fight or flight anger, like state, like, so it's a nuance. I appreciate that, especially with athletes. But here's the thing, even with athletes, you don't want, like, let's say you have a boxer, you don't want your boxer to be angry because they
mm-hmm.
know you. What happens when people become angry or trigger that the thought can trigger anger? Jaws become like more pronounced, like you narrow focus and you can almost predict the moves that they're going to do because it's like their brain is just shutting down and focusing on like survival right now. So even the athletes who are in combat sports, you want them to be as clear-minded and open and calm and not triggering fight or flight. You'll know if you're triggering fight or flight based on your physiology, because it keeps you open to accessibility of seeing creativity, solutions, intuition, etc. So only you're going to know, April, if it's like, okay, is this like triggering that for me? And or is it no, it's actually keeping me in a calm flow state and it's
Mm-hmm.
helping me. Only you're going to know that.
Yeah, and for me, it's always flow state, and I mean it
Mm-hmm.
has been since I was a little girl, and that's really a good thing for you to point out because I just assumed that. Well, of course, it's going to put everybody else in flow state too, even the people
No.
that haven't experienced it before. This is so funny. Okay, this is a total reveal behind the scenes. So,
Yeah.
little sidebar. So I host these entrepreneur adventure retreats, and
Fun.
what we do is the first day is I always take people like up into the mountains and like out of the elements, and we're pushing ourselves to some sort of extreme. Like nothing is like super dangerous, but it's usually things that people just don't do every single
Yeah.
day, right? And honestly, the people that actually join me on the first adventure day, usually here, especially when we do them in Colorado, they're so much more successful in their business
Yeah.
strategy the rest of the weekend. But now that you say that, and we do like ice baths and all these things,
Yes.
right? Now that you say
Yeah.
that, I just assumed everybody would get in flow state. Maybe, I mean, I have these retreats planned for next year and everything too. We're going to go be doing this really cool outdoor thing and then business strategy. Maybe I should make sure that you're there. So because
Yeah.
I just thought, hey, this is going to be great. Everybody's going to
Yeah.
tap into flow and it's going to be awesome. But maybe I'm totally doing people a complete disservice, just assuming everybody's going to be, well, and
Yeah.
historically everybody has. So thank you, God, that everybody's been okay so far.
Yeah.
But now that you say this, I guess just because that is me, this is my experience, it's always tapping into flow. But you pointing out that that might not be the case for somebody else
For a
is
lot
like
of people.
oh shit.
Yeah. And let's bring this back too. It's like, it's never the external situation that causes the feelings or thoughts in our body, but rather how our mind is perceiving and processing data. And so oftentimes, if we're perceiving a threat, it's going to cause us to go into that fear or anger response, right? So, because look at it, some of us can have lots of money and have like no fear response, and other people can be like, oh, lots of fear response. So is it the money that's causing it? No, it's my perception based on my own identity, my beliefs, my past experiences that are causing me to have some sort of like blip of data that's not processed through. So for you, you're like, yeah, cold plunge, just paraglide off the mountain, great. For most people, they're gonna be like, what the F? Like their literally sphincter's gonna tighten up and they're gonna feel like they're gonna want to vomit because it's not the external that creates that, it's my perception of that's actually creating the experience within me. And that's, if we're like, well, how do I know what that perception is? Then that's when we start to uncover and unpack kind of like, there's probably some past blips or past experiences that your brain still thinks is going on that hasn't processed through yet. And so can we clear those things? Absolutely. But everyone has a different perception. But it's never the actual external thing that's causing that within us. It's how our mind is perceiving data and relaying it back through our own identity, beliefs, and experiences that causes the sensation in our body. Make sense?
And I'll be sharing with you our retreat calendar for next year.
Yeah, let's prime the mind. But what you're doing as well, though, what you're doing, April, as well, is you're exposing them, right, to, like, I know even cold plunging. That can be a very different experience for people. But so for everyone here, let's give some intangible. What happens if I do have a perceived threat? What happens if I'm scared of doing something? So use the power of your mind. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real or not real. Example, movie. Or let's say I'm going to send you a video and you're watching this video on a TikTok or something, and then the spider jumps out of your face. How many of us have thrown the phone? Or like, right? Okay, but the spider's in your phone. It's not coming out. We know that consciously, but our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and not real. We watched a movie and like, oh my God, felt heartbreak or felt scared. Okay, so use that to your advantage. There's two ways you can start kind of edging yourself as your comfort zone. So for those of you who are thinking of scaling, going on stage, whatever that is that's causing that emotional physiological response, here's two ways you can hack it. One, prime your mind. So you can spend 5 minutes tapping into your senses of living the experience as if it's habit. Get your mind on board, create a mind movie, get your senses involved. Just like the movie you watch, your brain doesn't know what's real or not real. So create the experience, because if it perceives it as change, it's going to see it as a threat. So now if you normalize it in your brain over and over again, when you go to do the thing, your brain's going, oh, you've already done this before. Okay, so it's not a threat, it's not a lion. The second thing you can do is start taking small baby action steps towards it. Because who the heck is going to move towards a lion that's in front of you, that's trying to kill you? No one. So as I take small actions towards whatever thing is scary or perceiving to be as a threat, you're telling your subconscious mind that this must not be a lion, because why the heck would I take action towards it?
Yeah. Totally. And it also makes me now I want you to take our clients through this month, like creating that mind movie for them.
Let's do it.
Sitting in there in sales conversations. So
yes, oh my gosh.
Okay, let's create mind movies of sales conversations.
Of the worst case scenario too. Okay. And this is the thing too, because look, if you have a fear, expose the fear. What am I worried about happening? Well, great, let's just experience it, because you're going to recognize you're not going to die from it. So I remember I had some people go through sales calls, and what am I going to say the wrong thing? What if they hang up on me? Great, let's do the worst sales calls possible. Let's say the stupidest shit possible, just to show your brain, okay, they hung up on me. It's not a big deal. Right. But until you uncover the fear and expose it, and then almost like, not saying we have to do sun exposure therapy, but you're just showing your brain it thinks there's a lion and it's not a lion. So what's the fear? Can I uncover that fear and go to worst case scenario, even just in my mind? You don't even have to do it. Like, let's say I'm speaking on stage and my pants fall down. Okay, then what? It's not saying you're going to manifest and bring that in. However, what you're doing is you're showing your brain it's not a lion, it's not going to kill me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we can do some fun stuff around like, what's our fear about sales calls? Let's just experience it and show you it's not going to kill you.
Let's play it out. That's awesome. Okay, so
fun.
as we wrap up, let's give our listeners like 3 different action steps that they can do from this show to actually understand where their current state is and how they can go about changing that. Because there's so much education on this podcast. You guys, please follow Danya. She's just absolutely incredible, as I know you know, because you're still here listening to this. But
they're like tuned out. This guy's crazy.
Right?
I'm just joking.
They're like, oh my gosh. Let's break it down into some simple action steps that somebody can do right now as they are turning this podcast off and they want to create some change.
Beautiful. Okay, so first step is awareness. So what I want everyone to do is just to have the awareness of like, what are our current external results? What is that? Your bank account, your environment, what you have and stuff. And now I want you to ask the question of like, what potentially is the belief or identity that's created this result? Knowing it all comes back to that. So if I can start to say, okay, where am I currently at right now? And what paradigm has been created from my own internal beliefs? That's going to give me awareness of where I am. Then I want everyone to look at where they're going, where they want, their desires. And I want you to ask yourself, what would the version of me be? What would I believe about money? What's possible, business, etc. if I already had that? Because if we don't know where we're at and we don't know where we're going, it's a common saying of what got us here won't get us there. So our current beliefs, our current identity got us to exactly where you're sitting with right now. Beautiful. If we want different, we have to go within and create shifts and changes within ourselves. So awareness of where we're at, and look at the where you want to go and start asking yourself, what would I have to believe to be true about that?
Right.
What's the identity of me who has that? Start to unpack that. Because even a shift of like, oh, well, I wouldn't think money's evil if I want a butt ton of money. Like I think money's abundant, whatever. You can start to have the awareness, and that can already start to shift things. Two, something that's going to be really helpful for everyone here is before they take an action or do a decision, ask yourself what's the intention behind that action or decision. Is it rooted in scarcity, fear, worry, proving myself, validation, knowing where that's going to get us? Or is it rooted in groundedness, present, abundance, whatever? Your intention, if you can just seriously, before even making a business deal or having a conversation with your mom or whatever it is, ask yourself what's the intention behind what I'm about to do. That pause and the interrupt in the pattern can already create a shift of like, well, hold on, I don't need, maybe even need to do this, or maybe I can do this differently, or I'm looking at it from a different perspective.
Right.
If we can't uncover what we're not aware of, we can't start changing it. The third thing is practicing that mind movie. So look, if we're going, you've maybe exposed where you want to go, but now there's some fear, there's some physiology going in your body. Okay, so I want you to say, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? And just take yourself down that scenario. It's not going to say it's going to happen, but until we expose the fear or the resistance on our way to our desires, guess what's always going to show up until we clear it? The fear and resistance. So on your own, you can start to ask yourself, okay, well, let's say I have a belief about money, and a prompt you can use is, in order to make more money, I have to just fill in the blank, sacrifice more time, travel a lot, I got to hire a bunch of people on my team, whatever it is. Start to take some time unpacking the fears and beliefs that are currently driving your decisions, and watch what changes you start shifting your perceptions on them. Do you want us to go over a couple uncovering the resistance questions really quick?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, let's wrap it up with that.
Okay, so because we're talking money, ask yourself this question a couple times. I believe you've done this before. So there's general beliefs, like money is, fill in the blank. Money is, what is money to you? Scarce, abundant, a tool, resource, hard to come by. Notice where your current beliefs are. And just a reminder to everyone too, you didn't choose these, you've learned them, which means you can unlearn them. Neuroplasticity shows us that as neurons fire together, they wire together. So you can shift them, but we can't shift what we don't know. I want everyone to ask themselves, what is it going to cost me to get to my desires? Notice what comes up there. Is it time? Is it money? Is it sacrifice? Is it nothing? Or what might be the consequence of getting my desires? And you're like, there's no consequence. Look, if we don't have them yet, there's some part of your brain protecting you from receiving it. So let's uncover what's the fear, what's it going to cost us, what's the consequence of getting it. And then as you start to uncover these, ask yourself, is this useful? Is this belief, is this way of being useful? And do I know anyone else, myself from past evidence, or someone in my circle, or someone who I'm looking up to as a mentor, that doesn't believe this to be true? Start just unpacking it. Another easy one to ask yourself is, being rich means what? Or rich people are what? Mm-hmm. Very simple kind of prompts to start uncovering the subconscious, because your subconscious has to answer the questions that you give to it. So just getting a thermostat of where your current programs are around money, what's possible, etc. Now look at your current environment, say, okay, does this even ring true? Like my current results, can I see how these beliefs are actually driving these decisions and creating these results? Great. If I want different, we got to do something different within first to create different without. I want to keep asking 1,000 questions, but I know we're kind of capped on time.
I know. Yeah, we have to wrap it. And I want you, I'm just sitting here absorbing, and every time you do this, I always re-ask myself these questions too. And I do think, even if you're listening here and you feel like this is something that you have mastered and that you've already been through, we can always keep breaking through. We can always keep noticing and understanding ourselves and rewiring our neural pathways and all of these different things to those next levels. And the thing that is so important about this is where we started out, in understanding that all the strategy in the world is not going to help you if you don't believe that you deserve to be there, or you can be there, or that you have this ability to be there. If you have to prove it to yourself or to somebody else, you're already starting with a disadvantage. And it's really, really difficult. There's no joy in that journey. I just gotta say it. There's just no joy in the journey, and most people are entrepreneurs to have joy. There is no end result to entrepreneurship. Let me say that again. There is no end. It's the journey. And
an experience of the journey, right?
That's right.
It's we're all on the journey, but what's our experience of the journey? And recognizing we get to determine that. So how many of us are building our businesses, but we're miserable as fuck, or we're stressed out, or we're not even enjoying what we're doing? We feel like we're building traps. Well, hold on a second. your business is a game, and you're the game. Like you create the game and you create the rules. So am I enjoying this journey? Am I experiencing the journey I want to experience? Like most of us came here to create lives of fulfillment, abundance, and choices, and autonomy, and impact. How many of us are actually experiencing that though? Right? Like, so it is a journey. I love how you said that, because there's no end destination. Look, you hit a goal. What happens next? Next goal. Are you enjoying this? Is your experience of this journey something that's fulfilling you and like feeling like present, and you can enjoy moments of it, lots of moments of it? Or is it stressful, chaotic, pressure, trap feeling? We can shift how we perceive it. So
Yeah.
great endpoint.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if people want to find you, where should they connect with you?
I'm most active on Instagram. So my name, Danya, Danya Douglas Hunt. And in there too, you can find a bunch of free resources. I think we're going to link up for everyone here the Morning Mindset Prime. So in that really quick audio is you're going to understand the neuroscience behind how to shift your state and why it's valuable for you to create the life of your dreams. Again, we talked about results in the beginning, what actually creates the results. Well, we get our mind and body on board. Your pathway to the action and strategy is a lot less resistance than having your subconscious mind come up and trying to protect you from change, aka your goals. So that would be the most valuable thing for people here to do. You can start shifting your state in your mind now, and just watch how things around you become a lot easier and more effective as you shift your mind and body to align with your subconscious desires. Listen to recording.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you being part of our team and in our community, and pouring into me and all of our clients, and just the work that you're doing and the science-backed work that you're doing is what differentiates you from a lot of mindset coaches out there.
Fluffy unicorns.
I know. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait for this to drop live. And I will actually see you this week in our community. I'm really excited about that.
Me too.
Right.
Me too.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.